everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to What Would Cynthia Do? This is my weekly LinkedIn live show. I'm Cynthia, of course. And I talk about different career topics and how we can deal with them, especially for women of color, people of color, and women. So welcome. Thank you all for coming. I know there's a few people who are here because in linking up my link, which if you're a regular, you know that you can already access these shows directly from whatwouldcynthiado.com. No more going onto LinkedIn and being like, is she live yet? What time is it? Where am I supposed to go? You can go straight to this website, whatwouldcynthiado.com, and it will hook you up to the live when I am live and shortly thereafter. But I also, when it's not hooked up to the live, I will have it pointed to the archive of all of my shows. Because guess what? This is show number 20. Can you fucking believe that? Show number 20. I'm shocked. Please say hi in the chat so I know who is here and who's joining us today. That's how we normally do intros on here. So feel free to drop your name, pronouns, what you do, and an ask and an offer. But yeah, I'm a little bit shocked at it being show 20. I've always, though, had a weird relationship with time, so that could be part of my confusion. Hey, Zareen, podcaster extraordinaire, Zareen, based in London, UK, I think, or UK at least. Welcome, Zareen. Please tell us about your podcast in the comments and drop the link if you would like. It is called No Stupid Answers, and guess what? I was on the latest episode of it. Yay, it was really fun, actually, talking to Zareen. So check that out. Hi, Carla. Hi, Tamora. Welcome. Viana, you made it. If you all missed last week's episode, then you really missed out because I spotlit? I don't know what the past tense is. The spotlight of last week's episode was this new blog post by Viana. So go back and watch that episode if you missed it, and or maybe Viana can drop the link in the chat so you all can just read the excellent blog post that she wrote. Yes, thank you all for introducing yourselves. Welcome, Lourdes. Nice to meet you from Illinois. Listen, so I also want to say, I hope everybody is okay, because I know that a lot of the people in the US right now are in some dire straits. And I'm guessing if you are, you wouldn't be here because a lot of folks are without power, without water, without electricity. When that is power, that was redundant. But you know what I mean. And people are dying. So I just really want to say, like, I hope everyone and all your loved ones are okay. I know that a lot of people who are not used to freezing and snow weather are like being put through it, you know, in a once in a generation kind of freak weather pattern. And also, this is why climate change, climate justice has to be like number one thing for all of us, I feel like, because I'm sure all of this is related. Anyway, let me get back to the chat. Yes, Zareen from London. We've got people all over the place. Everyone check out No Stupid Answers. That's Zareen's podcast. I was on the latest episode. It was quite fun, if I do say so myself. Hey, Tiara, nice to see you. Thanks for coming. And yeah, Viana, totally drop the link if you've got it handy so people can follow that and read your amazing blog post. And there, you've got it already. Okay, thank you. So, today's topic is, please keep introing yourselves. I love this and connecting with each other. But today's topic is going to be how to deal with a toxic person in your workplace, especially if they're in a position of higher power relative to you in like the hierarchy or the structure of the bureaucracy or whatnot. And before we get to that, though, we are going to talk about some things. Oh, my ask and my offer, I should always say. My ask. Oh, yeah. If any of you have questions about leadership or career change or negotiation, please pop them in the chat, because I'm working on a special secret project which you all will know about in March, but I can't tell you yet, okay? So I want to know what your questions are so I can create something really great for all of you, especially if you're in leadership, formally or informally, you know, but like especially like middle managers, you want to like move up, to higher positions and or emerging leaders. You want to move up to that first or second tier of leadership in your org. Like, I'm especially interested in your questions and what kind of struggles and challenges are you facing this year, especially as we all like continue to work from home and remote and pandemic and all that. Okay, so that's my ask. My offer. Oh yeah, my offer is this, and I posted about it. I think today on LinkedIn, so you might have seen it, but I wanted to show you all this article, which I think is really mind-blowingly good. It's an HBR, Harvard Business Review article. Does your definition of leadership exclude women of color? So I can only show you a little bit of a preview because I'm out of free articles for this month. Some of you may be able to relate. Let me know if that has been your eternal struggle, like accessing these articles. And I know, if you go into an incog window or something, you can see it. Or, just the first time you look at it, I try to save a PDF so that I can have it on hand for clients or whatnot. But anyway, check out my post from today because I linked to this article. And I think what's so fascinating about this article is that it talks about 3 types of capital that are just totally disregarded in looking at the leadership of women of color, or I would say people of color too. Like, we're just not giving credit for these things. And yet the workplaces and like what we've had to go through to get to where we are in that particular workplace, in that spot of our career, we've had to really build up these muscles and build this capital for ourselves, but it's not recognized. And so those things are resistance capital, navigational capital, and linguistic capital. So resistance, navigational, and linguistic. So check that out and like just to have a look, because I thought it was a really cool new framework, a way of looking at things and recognizing our leadership, and like pushing for that to be recognized, for us to get credit for that type of thing. Thank you, Viana, for your intro, sharing more about what you do. And like, yeah, folks, please feel free to do that. This is a space for you all to connect to and to meet each other and hopefully like message offline, continue the conversation elsewhere that you started here. I already asked this. Once again, if you're just joining, I would like to source your leadership, career change, and negotiation questions, especially if you are a current and or emerging leader. Went through that already. Oh, here's that link. I did prepare this in case you need that HBR article that I was just screen sharing. So pop that in. We're going to transition, though, into our first segment of the day. And let me know if you need me to bring this banner back up. I can do that. But we're going to talk about my timing is always bad. How are we doing? How are we doing? Especially because a lot of us are maybe dealing with, the snowstorm and all this sub-zero weather that we're not accustomed to. And I'm someone who like runs cold. Like literally right now, my hands are very cold. And yet I live in a place where like the heat is functioning and we are like prepared for this type of weather. So I really feel for the people who are dealing with all this stuff. And like, again, like I said, the deaths from people like carbon monoxide poisoning, like all this stuff, I don't know, it's just a lot. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Viana, for the compliment on my necklace. I did want to tell you all in the how am I doing aspect, I made this. I made this 2 weeks ago. I think I've been putting it off for a super long time. And I was just like, I haven't done a creative artsy craftsy project in ages. And I don't want that part of me to wither and die because I work too much or whatever. So this is actually from fabric that, so I bought this really cool pair of pants, which my stylist friend, Nana Badu, her website is Badu Basics, BADU basics.com. So check her out. Her stylist skills are excellent. She helped me find these classes. She found me this pair of pants that I really liked, and they are this kind of pattern, though it's like, you can't really tell right now how it actually looks in the pants format. But because I'm super short, which hilariously enough, somebody I was DMing with, my copywriter, Rebecca Carvalho, who sometimes pops into these. So, hey, Rebecca, if you're here. She thought that I was like 5'6" or 5'7" or something. And I was laughing like so hard because I'm 5'1.5", and that's on a good day. So anyway, I always have to get my pants hemmed. And when I took these pants to get hemmed at the dry cleaners, I was like, can you give me back this fabric? Because it's so cool. And they did. And then I made this necklace out of it with like hot glue and stuff. And I burned myself 4 times in the process, but I feel like it was worth it because I really like it. So thanks for pointing that out, Viana. It's a real long tangent. Carla, yes, register an event you're hosting tomorrow. Perfect. Thank you for dropping the link. Everyone should check that out and come and support Carla, who's doing amazing work in the area of financial freedom for all. Hi, Lucic. Hello. Thanks for the compliment on my necklace. And yes, let's all talk to each other because together we are literally unstoppable. I don't know. I'm constantly floored by the power of us when we just join forces and combine and help boost each other up, you know? So generative. Thank you for putting these asks. Hi, Lanice. Hello, welcome back. Lanice, another regular to the show. Oh, this is awesome. I love this business idea, human resources and virtual assistants. Capital back office solutions. Okay, first of all, I love how it sounds kind of like Backstage Capital, which I believe is Arlen Hamilton's business enterprise. So I love that. Recruitment, project management. This is awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Back to Viana because I clicked off of that real quick. Yes, guest blogging and authorship. This is great. People need content, you know, and if you're a good writer, which we know you are because of your blog post, let's all kind of work together. So yes, and here's for cultivating our creative side. Like last week, we talked about how to even have work-life balance in this time. And I do think that having other things that we do, whether it's a physical activity, a creative endeavor, just something you do literally for the fun of it, that nourishes you and kind of helps restore you, crucial. Otherwise, we're just gonna burn ourselves right out. Yes. So keep sharing your asks and your offers. Does anyone have any wins to share? I'm curious because, you know, if you have been watching the show since the beginning, and now we're on episode 20, which is bonkers, you know that at the beginning I had a third segment called Victory of the Week that I would like never have time to get to because I talk so much and have time management problems on this show. So yeah, tell me if you've got any wins because I just really want to hear some positive stuff and I want to celebrate all of you. You know, I have an air horn right here. I will play it for you. So please tell me what has been happening. I mean, I'm just going to say for Lanice, that deserves an air horn right here. That's for you. And anyone else can have that too if you share your wins. But this for sure is one starting your business. So drop your wins in there as we continue. I will share one more thing. No, I was always talking so much. I'm really excited, and one win is that I think I'm going to be able to deliver my ebook course called Jumpstart Your Online Business to the folks who pre-ordered it early. I mean, what? I had told people, okay, March 1st, I'm going to get it to you if you pre-order by, it was like February 4th or something. And even that March 1st, I was like, maybe I should tell them like, it might change. It might be like the first week of March. And knock on wood, at this very moment, I think I might be early in getting that book in their hands, which I'm so excited about because it's really good. It looks amazing. It really came together. And then the sooner people have it, like the sooner they can start working on it and making sure the foundation of their business is like really tight. They know what they're doing. They can craft like a literal offer to go and get their first or their next paying ideal client or customer. So I'm super jazzed about that. Yes. Okay. Also gonna give an air horn here to Tamora, Self-Care Products, Independent Consulting, Jaffer.com. Oh, good. Yeah. So I think there are, trying to think if there are folks who join regularly who are like web design people. Maybe not, but I think everyone can kind of chime in and give ideas. Hello, Ryan. It's great to see you here. Ryan is another colleague in the DEI space. Thank you so much on the congrats. I posted, I think, yesterday about the Embrace Change team, which is really exciting and exhilarating and also I'm very nervous about. But if you haven't seen that post yet, check it out. I'm really pleased to bring on 4 team members to Embrace Change, and you can read all about them. They're amazing in my post from yesterday. Also, Ryan and Lucic, if you don't already know each other, you're both in the DEI space, and I think could have a lot in common in terms of sharing and collabing and growth. Also, if there's anyone else who's in the DEI space that I'm just blanking on at this moment, please reveal yourself. We need your services. Oh, great. Look, connections happening. I love it. Okay, so now we are going to move into the topic of the day, which is how to deal with a toxic person. A toxic person, that's how we feel about them, that you may have to deal with at work, especially if you kind of have to report to them or they're in some position that is placed higher in the power structure than you. Oh, I should change my banner. How to avoid working with a toxic person at work. That's the topic of the day. So I'm going to talk about this for the next 10 to 15 minutes. As always, please drop your comments and your questions in the chat. I will come back periodically and make sure that I am addressing them. And I also just want to know, quick temperature check, if either you or anyone that you know has ever had to deal with a toxic person at work that, you know, kind of you're sort of forced to work with, maybe they're on your team or you're assigned to be on the same team, or you have to report to them, or like you just have to deal with them because they are HR or like whatever. Drop a yes in the chat if you or anyone you know has ever had to deal with this situation. I just kind of want to know how relevant is it to you. And this was like a special request from one of our regulars. So you know, I always take those into account. So let me know if this also applies to you. Yes, thanks, Greta. I mean, no, right here. Oh, sorry, I meant to click on this one for Ryan. Thank you for that feedback. And we already know is happening to a lot of us, is definitely the vibe here. Thank you all for letting me know that it is a thing for you. It has happened, or you have seen it, you know, happening. So by the way, also, this relates to that article I shared at the beginning. Where is that? This Harvard Business Review article, because having to navigate stuff with people who are toxic, one or multiple people who are toxic in your workplace, that's navigational capital. That second category that I pointed out, in addition to resistance, and maybe a little bit of resistance capital too, but certainly navigational, and then the third being linguistic. So in a weird way, this topic ties in quite nicely to that. And everyone, like, hi Kenyatta, thanks for joining, thanks for letting us know that this is something you've either seen or firsthand or heard of. So I'm going to give you a 2-part strategy approach to deal with this if this is you. It's not going to be rocket science, but it is at least a way to think about it, because when you're in this situation, it can be very stressful, right? And it can bring up a lot of emotions. It could trigger you back to past trauma with past toxic people at work, past toxic workplaces. So this might be just a nice, simple way for you to think about it. So number 1 is to try and find solutions that get you away from this person while you still are staying within the organization, right? So I could think of like 4 ways, basically. 1 is like getting moved to a different team. So you're still doing kind of the same work that you're doing, but if there is a sister team or something that you could get onto, like, can you try to just move over there? The second way I think about this is, can you report to someone else if they are the person that you report to? Treat it like basically like a conflict of interest situation where you get a new supervisor, and this may involve your HR or your HR equivalent. But finding someone else that you can work with, whether they are your supervisor or a teammate, like if it's, I don't know, I'm just going to say off of the example that like Tamara brought up, like, let's say you need to work with someone in the web design department of your work, or, you know, as an entrepreneur, it's easier because you kind of just like don't work with that person, right? But let's say you're in Oregon, you are supposed to liaise with this one web design person, they're super toxic and you hate working with them. Is there a colleague of theirs that you could work with instead? Right? So this is number 2 under approach number 1 here. Number 3, can you apply for other opportunities or roles or projects or things internally? So this is where you're shifting more of the subject matter of what you do. So that could be more of a sacrifice for you if you like really love doing what you do already. This is a harder one, but maybe you could like do a new, have a new book of business, have a new role or whatever, and that could get you away from the toxic person. I have a client who recently managed to do that, and wow, was it life-changing for her, like just so great to get out from under this really toxic boss. And we're now in a place where it's like, she has never felt so supported in her career. So it's fabulous. And then the 4th thing under approach number 1 is minimizing the contact with the person, setting up a lot of boundaries so that you are just less affected by their toxicity, right? This is not necessarily an ideal solution because they're still like in your life, but it's you putting up the safety measures that you need, the distancing that you might need in order to like not be subject to like 100% of their toxicity. Maybe you're taking it down to like 50% or something. So that might mean saying no to certain kinds of work that brings you in contact with this person, or just keeping them at an arm's length. And let me see what Ryan is saying before I launch into this one thing. When I went to my manager to discuss the hostile work environment, my manager's response was, let's change our client group. Yeah, why do I have to move? So this is very real. And personally, I have that moral objection too. Like, why does the person who is in the victimized position in this situation have to be the one to like sacrifice and adjust and things like that? I mean, it shouldn't be. In a ideal situation, you would have some solution where like it didn't punish you as the person who's already being punished by the situation and that person. So I definitely get it that there's like an ideal situation like that person should be removed from being your supervisor, or they should have to undergo, professional development stuff to make sure that they're not just replicating this toxicity on like everyone at work. Maybe they are even reprimanded, put on a performance improvement plan, or like let go from the place. Like that would be ideal, right? At the same time, we all know that this is not usually the realistic result that happens, because as women of color, as people of color, we know that like we're the ones who have to like adjust a lot of the time. And that goes back to that article about the navigational capital that we've built up from having to adjust and navigate through like sometimes like metaphorical landmines in our careers and in our workplaces. So really good point, Ryan. And also like, I wish it was more like that a lot of the time. This in terms of like, that doesn't address the situation. Like, yeah, we want to find solutions that actually get to the root of the problem, or as close to the root of the problem as possible. And if it can't get to the very root of this person's toxicity, then like it should at least serve you in a particular way, like, can you also get something out of this as recompense, or how do you say that word, for having to put up with this person's toxicity for so long? So I'm talking real like harm reduction strategies. Like, admittedly, this is not like a very clean cut, elegant solution, just removing that person who is being toxic or changing their behavior. So a lot of these are harm reduction strategies that you yourself can always attempt. But I want to share a couple of things, because in terms of like trying to put up more boundaries and like distance yourself from this person, you may have to say no to a lot of things. And I found that just over the years, that's a big challenge for a lot of my clients and or people in like my communities. So I did post this on Monday on Instagram because this is basically the Instagram version of a free downloadable that I have on my website under the resources tab. And it is these 10 ways to say no. And I was thinking about it recently because somebody, actually a friend of mine who downloaded it ages ago when I first created the first version of it. She's also always sending it to other women of color and women because she's like, it's so helpful because I'm literally like giving suggested phrases that you can use and adapt to your life and put in your own words, but like you can also like just use them, I think, a lot of times to say no instead of having to spend a lot of emotional energy to figure out how you're going to say no to something. So I wanted to share this as a potential resource in case you're in that situation of doing the harm reduction thing. You know, let's say toxic boss number one is like, I need you, Ryan, or I need you, Viana, to like do this thing. These can be ways that you can start to basically try to prevent yourself from being roped in yet again to another thing that's going to like increase the negative impact of this toxic person in your life. So I'm going to just scroll through these. I categorize them a different way this time for the IG post, which is, these are real short and sweet. Always like those. It's good to also practice not saying too much because sometimes we as women of color can like say the thing and then we immediately backtrack. So I want to prevent that with these. These are ways that you can like look like you're being super helpful, you know, and also, which you are, and also you're getting them away from you. So not comfortable doing that, but I know someone else who might be able to help you. I don't do X, but I would suggest something else. And then these last two are like really about holding boundaries. So, you know, I wish I could, but I have to prioritize project for boss number 2 or whatever until for this quarter. You know, I don't have capacity to take that on anymore. So there's a number of variations in here that just, you know, can, again, it's harm reduction for sure. And it's also just a way to set and hold and strengthen your boundaries in all kinds of ways. So this, if you wanted to get the full 10 things in a downloadable, you can find that on my website. Under the resources tab, get control of your mindset, and the little square that looks like this, 10 ways to say no. So I did want to share that because I think it's helpful and it's applicable in a lot of different situations. So yes, let me check on the chat. Oh yeah, lots of stuff happening here. This is so great. Yeah, limit their access to you and protect your peace. 100% Lucic, that is what a lot of these things are. Because, you know, that's what's within your control. You know, we can't, sometimes we like to think like, oh, if I do this, I can really make this other person change. Probably not, to be honest. You know, like we only control ourselves. Sometimes we can't even control ourselves. We definitely cannot control someone else's behavior. The best we can try to do is influence. I think I talked about this in a prior episode of What Would Cynthia Do? So look for that in the archives. Yeah, I wasn't able to change managers, Tamara says. Had to give her the same energy she was giving me, but in a more respectful way and allow my work ethic to influence her. There's that influence, yes. Eventually we became friends. Incredible. Okay, that's a win. Hold on, where's my air horn? I mean, yes, Tamara, incredible. That is amazing. And it reminds me of a win I shared once on here about one of my clients who got the white guys who were just blocking her every which way over time to problem solve for her. So occasionally that can happen. Yes, thank you for supporting Lucic's comment there. Definitely going to come back. Yes, for sure. It's going to be preserved on my feed and on my YouTube as soon as I can upload it to there. And if you go to whatwouldcynthiado.com when I'm not live, you know, as soon as I can get it up there, it will be the archive once again. Yeah, Lenice, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for not only doing our challenging jobs, but navigating the work office politics and personalities as well. 100,000%. And that's why I was so glad to see this HBR article recognize all that labor and like mental labor, mental strain, emotional labor, strategic thinking that has to go into that. And yeah, those are the things that people are looking at when they're deciding if we get a promotion, right? Like never is that high up on the list of like, oh, Lenice did a really great job of dealing with toxic Andy over there. You know, that's never what people say. And the truth is, yes, you did have to expend all your energy doing that. And maybe that's also why, you couldn't be lead on X project over here, right? I mean, everything is interconnected, and it does piss me off a lot of times because of the reality that we live in. Lucic says, yes, you can use allies to limit their access to you. Have them use email to communicate to you only. Don't do one-on-ones anymore. Yeah, like this is the level of strategic thinking that you can think about in putting up those boundaries. And I love that you talk about leveraging allies, because it's true. There are people who could be like a buffer, like a go-between between you or something, and the toxic person to just help you out. So yeah, think about who else could help. Cynthia, how can male and male identifying allies speak up and disrupt toxic environments or help someone who's experiencing a toxic environment? Or toxic experience. Great question. And thank you for asking that, because I think it plays right to what Lucic was saying. So like maybe you can be that person that's a buffer. So I have had in the past situations where a client who's a woman of color needs to have a white person like be the person who amplifies them in a meeting, or who vouches for them to another white person who is being toxic to them or whatnot. So I think kind of keeping your eye out for situations that could fall into that, like the same way that you keep your eye out for like if you witnessed a microaggression or if you witnessed a macro racist act that happened to somebody else. That's number one, like passively, but actively paying attention. And then more proactively, like if you check in with your colleagues and your friends who are women of color, who are people of color who maybe are new to the team, people who tend to be like more quiet and reserved, to make sure that they're okay. Checking in on folks that is incredible support, I think, to be like checking in and making sure that they're not experiencing anything that might be this, because they might not even know. Like that's one thing that we don't talk about too, is like they might not even know that what they're experiencing is not supposed to be the norm. So yeah, we have to, when we see those flags, we got to be there to support people. And, if we can check in and just be like, hey, are you doing okay? Like, just wanted to make sure that everything with so-and-so is going fine, especially if you know that so-and-so has a reputation for being like this, right? I would say that. But other folks, if you have answers and suggestions for Ryan, like please also put them in the chat. No, we're coming up on time. Like I said, I always talk too much. Anyway, so that was like approach part one, right? Is to like do these things. And honestly, part two is if you cannot change your situation, because sometimes it gets to that point, there's nothing more that you can do, or there's nothing more that you want to do to have to adjust for this toxic person and stuff, you may have to leave. And I know that like we never really want to talk about that because it feels like the extreme, last resort nuclear option. And also maybe it's not that big of a deal. So I have numerous clients that recently have been in a really bad, not just one toxic person, but toxic environment. And they've had to take steps to remove themselves from there. So that means exit planning. This is why I always tell people, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Like, don't be loyal to one organization that treats you like you are replaceable. I'm going to show you this one other IG post that I had that went super viral. It's not showing me the whole feed. Let me try and see if I can get it for you. Nope. Let me go here. Like, we are so loyal to our organizations, and our organizations don't treat us the same way. So it's like, why, this post. I talked about what happened to Dr. Gabru at Google, one of their top people who was fired. So check that post out if you want to see more of the story behind it. But like that was a prime example of how, why we need to make sure that we're cultivating relationships outside of our organizations, mentors, sponsors, and champions out there doing things that are not related to one organization, because your career is not going to necessarily be supported forever at one place. So I know that was a lot. Let me know if you're all okay. Do you feel like you got any tools or any new tactics that you might want to try, or just file back there for in case you see this again, or you have a friend you could pass it on to? Let me know if put a yes in the chat if you got anything that you want to hold on to, any tools for next time. For future. And I know we are coming up on time. But let me know if you have any other questions. Last questions that you want to share for today. Whoa, sorry. And topics that you want me to talk about in the future, because I think I have a couple on deck, but like I don't have too many audience requests, and I want to talk about stuff that you care about. So let me know what you care about, and I will happily do one of these on that topic. Lucic, when is it your time to leave? When it is your time to leave, hold your head up high. Yeah, 100%, because the shit isn't your fault, you know? That's something I think that when we're dealing with and desensitized to toxic work environments, we start to like think that it is our fault, that we did do something wrong or whatever. And usually that's not the case. So yes, hold your head up high for sure. It's a great note to end the show on. What do I have to tell you? Yes, the next, I didn't even, 1 second. Got to edit this real quick. There we go. Next live is going to be next Wednesday, the 24th at 2 p.m. Eastern, like always. Put it in your calendar if you would like to join. You can always come at whatwouldscynthiado.com and tell your friends they can join us here. And yeah, thank you all so much for coming, for connecting. The chat was super on fire today, so thank you all for that. Thank you, Lucic, Ryan, Lanice, Carla, Tamara, Viana, Kenyatta, hello. Thank you for coming. And for all of your contributions, I think I already said Viana's name. But I'll say it again, since the last time we spotlighted your blog post, everyone check it out. Who else was here? I don't know. Michael, I think, watches the replay. So, hey, if you watch the replay, Zareen, lovely as always to have you. Lourdes, thank you for coming. Who else? Tiara, yes, thanks for coming. I hope today was helpful. And yeah, anyone else who manages to watch the replay, Prev, McKinney, oh my gosh, who is it who also always comes a lot? Rakisha, yes, if you pop by, hi, thanks for watching and sharing. And I will see you all next week. Wow, hope everyone stays warm and safe and sane during this time. All right, PM me if you have any ideas for topics. Thank you so much, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.